Welcome everyone to the Emergent Essence Dynamics free webinar series. This is webinar number 12 on December 5th, and the topic is living in quantum relationship with everything. And we have a few people joining us today from Italy and Germany and Luxembourg. We have Irina, Marin, Paul, and Philippe. So welcome everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure a few more may join. We don't know. A few more had registered. So, yes, and somebody else will just join. Who just joined us? Is Amiel. Ah, great. Great to see you. Hi, hi, good to see you. Okay. So, this webinar, all of you have attended previous webinars, and being this one is the last one in the series, it accumulates, well, basically everything that we've been talking about: how to be in relationship, how to access resilience, working with conflict, reconciling conflict, playing the games, reconciling the games, all of these things together, along with accessing source energy, build up to what I'm going to talk about today, which is accessing a way of being in relationship with things around you. That means yourself, other people, events, the world in general, and even time, in a much more fluid and in a much more fluid way, where there is multiple possibilities, and you are a co-creator of your reality. So, as opposed to being reactive, feeling like everything is happening to you, you are more of a co-participant, and you can influence the reality around you. You can influence the way you're in relationship with things. You influence the way they respond back. Now, this does not mean you are manipulating things. What this means is you are more in a responsive and creative flow with the ability to direct that flow. So you are creating just as much as you are being created. Let me know if you have questions on that already. No questions? Okay. You can always unmute yourself. Oh, I'm going to ask all of you to mute yourself to keep out any background noise. And you can always unmute to interrupt me to ask a question, or you can always write a question in the little chat window. All right. And I gotta see, where is my chat window? There it is. I gotta see how that shows up. Where do I see it? All right, I'll figure that out. No questions so far. Okay, great. So I will move on to the next slide, which will talk about your relationship to self and how you first, everything comes from self and then extends out from there. And what I'm going to explain to you are 4 different types of relationship you can have, which influence the reality you have around you. Right? So the first here is what we call the vertical loop, right? This is where we activate resilient energy from our center. It all comes from a central place in ourselves. And we circulate this energy down through to our feet, up to our head, and then we can extend this down into the earth, where our energy joins with the earth. It actually goes down, spreads out with the earth, and brings earth energy back in, which has a very grounding and rooted feeling. We bring that into the center, and then we can extend our energy up and out to the sky or to the universe, whatever you want to call it. It spreads out, and then we can bring our energy back in, and we'll receive more clarity, more wisdom, more lightness from the universe. And so the metaphor for this, it's like a tree with massive roots and branches extending everywhere. And the common feeling people have when they activate this vertical loop is they feel plugged into earth. They feel like they have access to infinite wisdom in the universe. And they say they feel like the trunk of the tree, like they're a vessel. So the purpose of this is to get us into our reality, but bridge ourselves to our essence, meaning our source being, source energy, but we still can maintain a sense of personality and individuality. So a paradoxical thing can happen where you feel in unity with things, yet you still feel unique and distinct. Let me know how you're following this. I'd love to take some questions already, because that is, could already go over people's heads. Don't know. What are your questions or comments here?
I would like to begin.
Yeah.
My general question for this is just like I experienced that state of being in quantum relationship, but it's really hard to stay in it. Like there are like little tests, and as soon as I get out of it, I just stumble back into being pathetic and whatever, and I just like lose sight of the quantum relationship.
All right. Right. You go back into a more closed bubble, closed reality, reacting off yourself, your fears, or your judgments, or other people, right? And so we can feel like we're doing this, battling ourselves or our world. So one of the secrets to sustaining this, I'm going to show you the next slide, which has you consciously, each direction of the energy has a purpose and a function. So, go to the next slide. This is a circulation of what we could call give and receive. This actually follows the way chi energy moves through our body, right? We draw up energy from earth. That means we're taking in vitality, nutrients, source energy. This feeds us. This is nourishing. And we can take that energy into our center, into ourselves. It will spread all through our body, and that energizes us, that inspires us. It gives us creativity and a feeling of resilience where we're able to act. And then we can give that energy out to the world, to the sky. It's like a generous gift. It's an act of generosity. And then we receive back energy, which could be called inspiration, wisdom, let's say a higher self. It could be your subconscious. It could be, things beyond your logical thinking. And also it could be energetic. That also mixes into your center. And then what we also do is we let go of anything left over, let go of our toxins, let go of negative energies, things we've been holding on to. So that's like we flush out of our system the stuff we don't need. So this can create a perpetual motion, which promotes health and well-being and clarity of mind, as well as a resilient way of interacting with ourselves first. The key to this is to simply enjoy the energy, enjoy what we take in, enjoy what we give, enjoy what we receive, and enjoy letting go, knowing that everything is in balance. And what is happening at the center is we're connecting to a basic energetic quality. We've talked about some essential qualities before, the four of them main ones being peace, love, unity, or limitlessness, usually showing up as limitless creativity. So in EED, what we're doing is we want to establish that center first to find out, and that can be from any kind of an active energy. We distill it down to its purest quality, and it usually shows up as peace, love, unity, or limitlessness. And when somebody is in that state, there really is no impulse to go anywhere, to do anything, or to be anything. This is where they're dropping more into their essential source, essential nature, like dropping into the quantum wave of potential. This is an experience of all potential. This is the state of being before action. And so this is allowing us to have more of a unity with ourselves, more harmony, and then it will enable us to have more unity with everything around us. But we start with ourselves with a resilient way. So to come back to your question, Amiel, the point is not to try to do anything with this energy, but simply be in enjoyment of it. And the most important thing is to pay attention to what it gives you, what you receive, what you take in, and then what allows you to let things go. So, for example, I get up in the morning, I activate this loop, and I could be filled with worry and stress, anxiety, negative thoughts, and so I can just start by letting that stuff go, and I draw up new energy through my feet and start circulating that through my body. The way you can direct the energy is draw up energy through your toes and the front of your legs, and then let it cross around your hips and come all the way up your spine, and then move over your head and down the front of your body, and then down, it crosses again, your hips, and down the back of your legs and out of your heels. And you can keep circulating that way. And it's not hard to do. You can take any thought, and what's important is that you let it be an unconditional thought, like simple vitality, simple peace, simple connectedness, anything, and let it grow by simply enjoying it as you circulate, and just keep noticing the effects on yourself. And it naturally amplifies itself. Questions there? I feel like I really just jumped in making a lot of assumptions. You know what I'm talking about.
I have a random question.
Yes.
Does the color of the loop, the turquoise color, have any meaning?
No, it's my favorite color.
And not even of EED?
Well, it goes with the branding of EED. Turquoise is my favorite color, so this is why you see turquoise all over the place.
Because the reason behind that question was that, do you know the book Reinventing Organizations?
Yeah, the color teal. That's right. Yeah.
So I thought there was maybe a connection.
Well, partially. If you want to think symbolically, the color green represents a vitality,
Mm-hmm.
and blue represents water, fluidity, flow. So it's like a flow of vitality. I mean, and you could come up with more representations of what these mean. It also has a calming effect, this color, and it gives you a sense of solidity and groundedness. So that is the effect of the vertical loop. You have groundedness, flow, ease, and fluidity, as well as you're open to inspiration without feeling like you have to hold on to things or without feeling fear. This is a way of neutralizing fears and revitalizing yourself and feeding your strengths. Does that answer your question more, Mahan?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Any other questions here on circulating this energy through the vertical loop? And in EED courses, we teach you exactly how to establish that center, how to take any kind of an energy and distill it down to its essence, and then begin the circulation. But like I said, to put it simple, if you allow yourself to get in a state, it could be through meditation or just a simple quieting of the mind, take any energy and find what's pure in it. Find what's unconditional in it. Find what's permanent and timeless in it. And add into that your enjoyment of the energy and what it brings you. Okay?
Troy?
Yeah.
I'm feeling all your energy when you move your hand, when you move things, and I'm feeling that you are totally aligned with all what you are saying.
And what is the effect on you then?
Wow, it's so amazing.
Okay. Ooh.
I would like to ask you, are you a wizard or I am so open to receive this bless?
It's both. Well, and this brings us into the next dimension where we have the vertical, and then we can start extending that energy out to others in relationship, okay? And I'll show you that next. I'll talk about that. What is important, though, is that you are open to receive. And as you enjoy the effects of what you receive, you'll naturally want to give. And when you allow yourself to enjoy feeling the groundedness, as well as the open channel to, what's out there in the universe or the sky or the world, you'll feel this circulation, and you'll feel more and more this amazing feeling of, like, what we could call invincibility, meaning I can't be harmed here, a feeling of anything is possible here, and I can be very open. And it's not a feeling of, wow, I'm floating up in the clouds. This is a very balanced loop, because we open the sky plus the earth. So you're open to inspiration and grounded at the same time, which allows you to be responsive to everything that's in front of you and everything that comes at you. This is really important. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and I have also the same what just you said, that I would like to expand this feeling everywhere.
So this works almost like an I believe it could be an electrical field, but it works just like an electromagnetic field. The more we circulate, the more it multiplies and charges up. And then what we want to do is we have this natural inclination or desire to give or share the energy, which looks like this. All right. So you see I have a green center, so I would send a green line of energy, let's say. This is just to represent the energy coming from me. And it will be received by another person, and then they will be also sending me their energy, and I will receive it. So there's a natural give and receive, all right? So I can be charged up in this same quality I'm feeling, I will give. Now, they could receive it. Now, sometimes what can happen is the person could block the energy. No, I don't accept it, I don't take it. Or we, in our own minds, imagine they block it, and so it doesn't really get sent properly. But that's fine. If it gets blocked, if it isn't received, we go back in our loop, recirculate, charge it up, and send again. Give, receive. And then they can absorb it, and then they have a natural give, and we have a natural receive. If we are still circulating our loop, where we are open and plugged in, we naturally will receive it, and then that adds a new energy. Just like we received new energy from earth, new energy from sky, we are now receiving new energy from relationship. And when that happens, each person is circulating their own loop, and there is this exchange of energy, and what happens is we drop into what's called a unity consciousness, where we're co-creators and we're synchronized. So this creates a coherence between the two people. We have an internal coherence. This could be, my consciousness with my whole body, and then they start to develop their own coherence between their consciousness and their body, and then we have a coherence of relationship, and this gives the feeling of unity. Now, it's possible to sustain and maintain this. It's a highly receptive state. It's a freaky state to be in. We do this in the workshops, particularly in the Reconciling Conflicts workshop, which is our advanced workshop after the main modules. And this is how we reconcile conflicts, is we get both people in this state of being where they let all things go and they experience this feeling of unity. It's not a feeling, it's an actual experience of unity. They take from that, and then they can separate, and they still can interact in a creative way. Here is where we can do reprogramming. Here is where we can shift our belief systems. Here is where we can enter a more fluid reality with ourselves and other people. Now, one more point to make. You actually do not need another person physically present to get this kind of a horizontal loop going. This can be done at a distance, and this is what I mean by being in quantum relationship. In Module 3, we take people through the experience where they can simply imagine the other person, see the other person behaving in their mind's eye. We actually have two relationships with a person. The physical relationship, where they are right in front of us, plus the internal relationship we hold inside our mind with that person. If we can shift the internal relationship, we actually shift the external relationship. It has the same effect, because what we're really doing is shifting ourselves, the way we act and react. Add on to that, when we get into a resilient state where we no longer feel threatened by the other person, but we have a natural generosity and receptivity of give and receive, that influences the other person to drop into a state of resilience and reciprocate that give and receive. And that is how we achieve more of a plasticity. Now, some of the effects of this technique of working remotely with relationships in this way, or reconciling conflicts, whether it's in person or at a distance, is the other person actually changes at a distance. And after a session where we can work through this vertical and horizontal loop with a person, they'll receive messages, a text message, a phone call, or at random, even shortly, within minutes after the session, almost quoting exactly what was said between them when there was this horizontal loop happening. There have sometimes literally been actual quotes from the other person. They had no knowledge that we did this session. But what the person notices here is the other person has a definite shift in their behavior. They have a definite shift in the feeling between them. And so the relationship has just instantly shifted or evolved. Because what
I have a question.
Yeah.
So right now I'm doing a meditation on relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually asks to imagine the other person, and then the spark of light spreading through the body, and see them happy and how they're feeling more spacious and blah, blah, blah. And for me, it's so hard. That part is so hard for me. I feel actually disconnected to whatever I'm imagining. Do you have any advice? What makes that easier? Because I'm imagining like the same aim that this meditation is having, that you improve the relationship with this person, that this, or even that this person is happy because you want them to be happy, is kind of like what you also doing, just with this one focus of happiness. So do you have any advice of how I can connect better to this person in my visualization?
Yes. I'm just shutting out my my email because it makes noise. You make a really good point, because this is the problem in most meditations. What's happening by what you described is more of a manipulation of the person, and I'll tell you why it's a manipulation. You say, oh, I'm going to imagine them all happy and sparkling and this and that. But why? What for? What for? What must happen is there is a degree of humility here. There must be unconditional generosity here. And what we do here is, this is point one, and then I have point two. If I am feeling here unconditional love, for example, or unconditional peace, all right, and I work that through myself first, and then I naturally begin to radiate, and I notice that it touches the other person, and I observe the effect. So this is more of I'm giving it to them and I allow them to receive it, as opposed to I try to imagine them taking on unconditional peace. This is more of it is given to them and they receive it. And I allow them to receive it. Then what's missing in what you said is, see, what you described is just a giving. And you're not even seeing how they receive it. So that means you're just forcing it upon them. Literally, that's what's going on, right? Then see what effect it takes upon them. Let that affect you. What do you see when you see them receive the peace? What's the change that happens to them? And what does that, how does that affect you? So that you start also receiving the impact back. And the other thing is, what are they naturally inspired to then give or radiate? And what is it like for you to receive that? So what you described, Marin, was an incomplete loop. Okay, and this is what's missing from a lot of these meditations, is it must have a degree of humility. If this is controlled by ego, meaning I need the person to change for my own convenience. I mean, you might not think that, but if it's designed that way, even if you think, oh, poor person, and they should be happier, and I'll give them more of this and that. But what for? Who does it serve, them or you? Who's more comfortable when they change? That's what you must think about. The other thing with this is it is unconditional, so that you still give, even if they refuse to receive. It does not lessen the power that you feel within. It does not lessen the effects you feel within. And in fact, when they are not open to receive, you become open to listen to what they actually want or demand. And from your unconditional state, you're able to give it. Does this make sense, what I am saying here? Because everything is based on being unconditional. What are your comments here, and what does this help clarify? Anyone? Yeah.
I tried to do with the last year with my can I say, my spiritual master. Mm-hmm. She was healed, and I sent my healing energy, as you said, unconditionally. I received 100 times more from her. It was incredible, and I didn't realize that was possible until I have done this. It just was that from my heart, I just give my energy to her.
Right. This is also a multiplier. This is an amplifier. When you get all four elements working of give, receive, let it take effect, they naturally give, you receive, and you let it take effect. So in order to close the loop, both are generously giving and generously receiving and generously integrated what enters their system, okay? There is no condition here, meaning I'll give you all my energy, but I will not receive your dirty energy. You understand? I've just created a status. I'm better than you. My energy is better than you. When we are in essence, there is no status. Therefore, there is no energy better or worse. This is just a radiation of energy. It's basically the same energy. It just may be different colors, right? Like I'll be filled with love. I give love. You're filled with unity. You give unity. And they both blend together, for example. What then happens is it begins to multiply and multiply. All right. And yeah, like you say, you know, you will feel 100 times more energized in the end than when you started. Now, this can be applied to, for example, if you need to lead a group of people and you're just conscious of the give and receive, okay? And for everything because some people, they'll lead, they'll work hard, they give, but they don't take anything in return, right? This can also mean like, well, when we'll talk about the next dimension, when we take action in the world, we need to give our contributions and take our rewards. We need to receive as much as we give. So some people are better givers, other people are better receivers or takers. What we need to work on is having a channel that goes both ways, equally giving and receiving. Paul, did you want to make a comment or you had a question? I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I was about to ask about a practical application for that. So could we suggest that making an appointment in the morning at 6 o'clock to do a meditation on a distance with other people and activating the horizontal loops with other people on distance is something that this is applicable for, or that would make sense from a quantum?
Could try it, yeah. I mean, if you want everyone meditate or working on this at the same time, so it synchronizes, you can. You can also just begin working with yourself and another person at any time. You don't have to let them know. By the way, okay, so here's a good example as well. Let's see, what do we got next? Yeah, so if you can do this internally, okay, so this is you and you're in relationship, and then it's going to affect others. So for example, you can do a visualization or a meditation of you build your resilience, and then what's going to happen when you go into that meeting, or what's going to happen when you have that interview, or when you go on that date, that first date, okay? You can already start to allow this essential energy to start circulating. You know how we have in our minds, we pre-plan and we tend to go through disaster scenarios like, oh yeah, when I walk in the room, they're going to argue with me and I'm going to have to fight for my ideas. Well, I'm actually pre-programming how I'm going to behave. I'm already preparing myself for certain reactions. And what I may do is I will walk in that room and program that room to act and react a certain way because of the way I am acting, right? This can help with mental preparation, not only mental preparation, but real effect, where you could start magnetizing the room before you walk in, okay? Because you are shifting the relationship on a quantum level. They're unconsciously feeling those effects. So preparing meetings, preparing interviews, preparing having a big conversation with somebody, even just healing a relationship. And you don't have to do this with people who are alive. You can do this with people that have passed on. For example, you have unfinished business with a friend you never saw again, or a parent that died and now, you know, you're ready to reconcile something, or you want to, you know, this helps with grief work, by the way. I do this a lot with people suffering from grief.
Since you're getting more practical here, let me quickly recap. We started with energy from the sky and the earth, and now we're in the horizontal loop and shifting energies in order to receive more energy that we can do things with. And when we are actually doing that, are we like using language, or can it be done on a totally feelings level?
It is a total energetic level. So it's an energetic level that influences our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And the thoughts, feelings, and actions are congruent with the energy we are circulating through. Or if you want to think energetic, it's a frequency level or a state of being, right? And then our thoughts, feelings, and actions align with that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, like, yeah. This can't be done by just saying nice words. And then we feel, you know, suspicious. It can't work. It won't work. It'll collapse. It just will not. The loops will close. I mean, they'll collapse. What I want to say also is it starts from your center, wherever the center could be. It could be any part of your body. Usually it lands around the heart or the solar plexus, maybe the throat, maybe lower body. It doesn't matter. Once it starts circulating, what usually happens is it resets to around the solar plexus when it's at its most neutral. Here's another thing we can do. So it goes from the center, and then we start circulating it to the feet and up to the head, and then we extend it to earth and to sky. And then we can extend it out. Now, I've done this with clients as well, where now they're extending it out, say from their center, but then I can start moving that center up and down. What's it like when they move the center up to their throat? And they can communicate that energy, or up to their head, and they can start, you know, feeling their whole awareness and intellectual experience with that energy, or down into the stomach or the groin, to have it, you know, so it changes perception as we move the center up and down while sending this across. That is possible as well. That will color the experience of the relationship. So, for example, I had a client who had a problem dealing with violence, who had a problem dealing with aggressive people in confrontation at work. We activated this vertical loop, and naturally, this client was coming from the solar plexus, so it created a feeling more of unity, where the person could accept the other person's behavior and not feel threatened. Bringing it up to the throat, this person was able to communicate their truth while still accepting the other person's truth without feeling like a victim or victimized, without feeling like they needed to overcompensate or become violent themselves. Moving it up to the head, they could observe aggressive behavior and not feel like it's their stuff. They could let them have the aggression, they could observe, but they could also see where the people were coming from, why they were aggressive. Moving it down into the stomach or the groin, the client could then participate in confrontation and aggression without feeling threatened and without feeling like a killer, without feeling like they needed to retaliate violence. They saw it more as strength and solidity and action. So the violent part of it disappeared. And by moving their horizontal loop through different body centers, they were able to function in different ways. They could still communicate, they could still think, they could still feel, they could still act, just by moving the body center up and down, or the center up and down. How are you guys doing with that information?
A quick question from my side again.
Yes.
And you said we'll practice this in module 3?
This gets practiced in module 3 as remote relationship. Also, we try it in actual relationships, so you get the experience of it, and then you can work with remote relationship. And in the reconciling conflicts course, this is much more actively used. And it actually is done between two people. So you see the effects of how two people influence each other once they start activating these loops.
Okay, cool.
Module 3 and reconciling conflicts. Now, there's another level to this. So so you can determine how you're in relationship with things. This is you in relationship. That's what this graphic represents. Whether it's with a person, an event, or anything. This is you in resilient relationship, okay? Now, the next phase is you are in the world. Now, you are in relationship in your home base, at home, meaning when you're at rest, all right? And then every day you go out and you meet the outer world, okay? This is the outer world. So this is you actually moving to the outer world and then coming back home. You're in relationship the whole time with people and events around you, but what you're doing here is you're giving on a larger scale, meaning making a contribution, and the world receives your contribution. And from there, the world gives back a response to you from the contribution. It could be feedback, reward, and you receive that and take it in, and that feeds your creativity and resilience, and it influences your relationships. So this is working on the fractal level on a much larger scale. Now you're in relationship with the entire world around you, all right? Now, the practical application of this is to create work-life balance, for example. First, it takes care of movement. You need to leave home base to enter the outer world. So it could be like inner world, outer world. You have to leave home and go out on the street. And then you need to come back home and go to sleep. So this is like inactivity where you recharge your energies. And this is outer activities where you spend your energies. Does this make sense? And so what this creates is a resilient relationship with activity and inactivity, or outer contribution and inner reward. Because what happens with a lot of people, some people just go out and they go, and they do, but they never receive back from what's happening around them, and they burn out. They burn out of energy. They experience exhaustion. Other people get more like a recluse. They're just in their world of ideas internally, or they're stopped by fear, and they don't want to express their creativity or their ideas, and so they just stay in their own inner world, and they never go out. They never communicate. They never express. All right, because they're either they feel they can't give, or they're afraid to give, and it's probably also because they're blocked from receiving. So they just, if they're neither giving and receiving and staying in the internal world, they're just going to get depressed and depleted. All right. If you only go out and you don't, and you overspend your energy, you're going to experience burnout or exhaustion, or resentment, because you feel like nobody gives back, but you may not be open to receive. So this creates a healthy, resilient balance between being in your internal world and your outer world, giving and receiving, and you allow the world to give back to you and receive its rewards. How are you doing with this information, and what does this open up for questions or comments?
How do you realize that you're in this burned out stage, like that you're not receiving? And if you've realized that, how can you remove that blockage?
Okay. What happens is when you go out, now this can happen on the large and the small scale, like every day you basically leave home, right? Or every day, even when you pick up the phone and talk to somebody, you're experiencing the outer world, okay? You're gonna naturally start to feel like, okay, I'm overextending myself, or this is too much, or I'm feeling tired, or I feel like I just need to have a break, get away, go back into myself. Anytime you're feeling a natural retreat is when you're being called back home. Does that make sense? Now, when you are maintaining resilience, you'll get to know if you're feeling threatened out in the world and you want to retreat from fear, okay? Naturally, it's a fearful place to go out into the outer world because it is the unknown, the unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen. But when you are resilient, you are also responsive and you are responsive, flexible, and adaptable. And so fear is less of a threat. Fear can become more of a stimulator for you to spark more creativity. But after a certain point, you realize I need to take all this good information I gained and bring it back home to internalize it, process it, learn, okay? This is like you've had a day of work, gone out, you've produced a lot of great stuff. Now you've got to come home or go somewhere and just rest, take a break, or even just celebrate the day. Or forget all your intense learning of the day and just watch a stupid movie for a little bit, just to relax the mind, right? So this is a balance of activity, inactivity. Does that help answer your question, Marvin?
Somewhat.
Okay, what still doesn't feel clear, or maybe I didn't answer quite.
So what if you realize that there's a blockage? Like, do you just, I don't know, if you were saying, oh yeah, you had a day, you learned a lot, and then you go home and rest and re-energize. Is that already the receiving part?
That's the receiving part, yeah.
And and there's no other blockage. No, I don't know.
Well, there could be blockages on any of these four. I'm unwilling to give. I'm unwilling to participate. I believe the world doesn't receive what I give. It doesn't want what I have to offer, okay? Or I don't notice, I don't acknowledge that the world is receiving, okay?
So basically...
The world doesn't give anything back to me. The world just takes, and there's no effect. There's no effect produced on what happens. Or I don't recognize what the world has given back to me, or I don't take what I've learned from my daily lessons and I don't integrate them. Another one is I push myself, and I will not stop until I get this done. Right? Instead of saying, hey, mate, you've been at it for a couple hours, take 10 minutes and go take a walk or go take a nap. To just, forget. Like we forget to take breaks, for example. Those of us that are overachievers, because we say, I don't deserve to receive anything good until I've finished a really good, perfect effort at this, right? Until and I won't see results until I know I've put everything into it. That's a lack of balance back and forth between give and receive. Is that making more sense to you now, Marvin?
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because I see, we're a self-organized company with like no boss or any rules or regulations that kind of like take care of us. So each employee needs to take care of themselves. And what I observe is that in general, we are not very good at it. So there's many people that are like getting sick, for example. Sure. And my assumption is because they're doing too much. And it's not because someone tells them to do too much. It's because they're so enthusiastic, for example, about what they're doing. Or they think, oh, I need to contribute because we're all also part of this company. So I guess it's then mainly this receiving part or the resting part. That, or at least that's what I'm witnessing. What
it is. A lot of that has to do with the receiving. Also, they're giving. They may not be noticing that what the world is receiving, and then they end up just over giving. They're like, for example, I'm going to serve you food at dinner, and I say, take another helping. Take another helping. I made all this delicious food, and I'm piling your plate, and I don't hear you saying, okay, enough. You know, this food is delicious, great, but let me just eat, right? You know, I need to hear and respond when you've received enough of what I'm giving and let you digest it so that you can then respond back to me and say, you know, the food's really delicious. May I have a second helping? Right? And then I need to take that in and say, wow, you really enjoyed the food. Well, that nourishes me as well, and we can enjoy a meal together. Instead of me micromanaging you, right? Some people try to micromanage the world and don't listen to the world's response. Does this make sense to you? Okay. And that can be depleting. The other thing that can happen is we spend so much time out here, we lose our connection to ourselves. So I get so involved in my friends. I get so involved in my activities. I get so involved in my projects that I forget who I am. And I start to feel like now I'm too much at service with everyone. I'm too obligated. Now everyone makes these demands on me. And now I'm not necessarily feeling appreciated, but that's okay because I'm getting good results, right? So that starts to mentally deplete me, spiritually deplete me. And then I say, I can't take a vacation. I can't stop. And then suddenly, whammo, I get sick. And it's because that's a hard call to home. The body is saying, you need to recharge, and that's why you're getting sick. You need to actually let go of stuff. You've been holding so much in here. Your vertical loop is getting so blocked. It needs to empty out, and you need to take in nourishment for yourself before you go out and give more to the world. Does that make sense? This is partly why we get sick, because we need to flush our own system out. One other point is we are one personality at home. I might be very introverted, very quiet. You know, I do, you know, my own things. I don't want to talk to people. I'm very internal, perhaps. And then when I go out, I share, I'm extroverted, I joke, I laugh, but I mean, I'll be a whole different personality when I'm out there in the world. Could be the opposite for someone else. They feel very expressive when they're in their small circle or when they're by themselves. And when they go out, they feel very shy and introverted. Doesn't matter as long as there's a give and a receive, but you are two different personalities when you are in the inner world and the outer world. And those need to be balanced so you feel more whole and complete in the way you take action and in the way you move in your world. So this is all about movement in the world. Leaving and returning, leaving and returning. Anything else to say here? Yeah.
And what is like your suggestion of how to bring this closer to other people?
Can you be more specific or
so for example, I see that my colleagues, and I mean, this is just one example because I think the whole world is full of a society that never learned how to manage their own energies.
That's right.
So how can I approach this if I see it, like, or what can I do to help people to manage their energies better?
Ah, great. Okay.
Is it like only through a coaching session, or is there something else I can do?
All right. First, charge yourself up energetically. You can give them some energy, and they'll naturally start to receive it. Okay. You like the way you work in relationship with them. You can certainly talk to them and say, you know, How are you with giving and receiving? How are you with taking a break and still feeling okay with yourself? But what you can't start doing is forcing and manipulating them to do one thing or another. You can make them aware. The best thing you can do is charge yourself up and start to give them a give and receive of energy. And they'll start to become more aware of themselves, balance themselves, and balance their action. Does that make sense?
So in a way, be like a role model, and the other way, what I understood from earlier, like in a meditation or whatever, I could send like my positive energy to them.
Yeah.
Right. So
yes. Yeah. The other thing you can say then is, if you notice them refusing something, like refusing to receive something, you can just give it again and say, hey, you know, it's a free gift. It's not a compliment, it's a gift. Like, you did an amazing job on that project. Let's go out and have a celebration dinner together. Oh no, I have no time for that. I'm on the next project. Hey, it's just an hour. It's just an hour. Take time to really enjoy the fruits of your labor. It can be done that way, for example.
Situational, this reminds me of sparking resilience. Like, even if you just go for shopping or be around people, like simple interactions, like micro interactions, like somewhere it's like, okay, there is something happening, there's something funny or interesting about it, point it out. And so it's unconditional. It's not something to be planned ahead. So that's right.
Let it be unconditional. You start to cultivate an awareness of this ebb and flow of activity and reception, activity and reward, activity and reward. Even you could structure your business meetings around time for productivity and time for celebration. Acknowledge what we've accomplished, learn from what we've accomplished, and then plan what's next, and then celebrate our great ideas, and then come to the next meeting and reap our rewards and re-examine what needs to be done, right? It needs to be done in balance, okay? If it's only about, all right, who did what? Now what are we going to do next? Well, that isn't good enough. Now go out and do it. That's an imbalance, right? Because there is no receiving. There is no reward happening back, right? So people don't get recharged. Some people are afraid of receiving or reaping the reward because they think it's going to make them lazy. Oh, if I believe that praise and if I believe that success, then I'm not going to try so hard on the next one. I'm going to get sloppy. That is a myth, because if they're enjoying the contribution and they see the effects of their contribution and they feel how that contribution returns to their well-being, and if they feel how that feeds their strength and creativity, they're going to naturally want to contribute more. That's a perpetual motion. And so if you take time for all phases, I give and contribute, I allow the world to receive my contribution, and then I notice what the world is giving back to me, and I receive the benefits of that. You'll naturally increase your energy and your ability to contribute. So all four must be done. Is this making sense what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, this was developed by somebody who was a perfectionist and an overachiever, and who experienced at least 2 burnouts, right? So that's me. And I was really unwilling to receive. I was giving, and I was expecting stuff from the world and really making it conditional what the world could give back to me. So I was throwing a lot of things away. Plus, I wasn't actually believing that the world even wanted or appreciated what I had to contribute. So I was just giving out of stress and fear. I was refusing to acknowledge what actually got received. I was making assumptions that it wasn't wanted. I was convinced that the world was against me, like it was ready to compete or knock me down. So that's the only thing the world was giving, anything but benefit. And I would not receive any praise, any success, any help. All I was looking for was more criticism and more obstacles in order to make me work harder and give harder, because I felt that was going to make me a stronger, better person. And what it did was it made me live a life of stress and anxiety and exhaustion.
Thank you, Troy, for sharing that, because it reminds me too.
Yes.
And now I'm very happy to be in relaxed mood, because I just completed for the first time my best training, and I'm receiving my greatness now. That it's important to recognize this. And I have a wonderful friends that say, if you don't allow yourself to recognize your greatness, how can you do with your clients?
Right. Yeah. So that's part of the being inspired to give. And so you need to also be giving to yourself. And that's what this internal loop is all about. It's a give and receive to self, right? So by giving inspiration, you receive inspiration. You're going to listen to your own genius and brilliance, right? And it doesn't make you, and because you're letting stuff go and taking stuff in from the earth, it keeps you sane and grounded. So you're not going to get stuck with your head swollen in the clouds thinking, you know, you're the greatest thing in the world and nobody, you're the unrecognized genius. I mean, so, and this kind of relationship of give and receive with just relationships, and this kind of relationship of a give and receive with the world keeps you balanced and sane while being open and yet grounded. And so all of it
definitely reminds me of returning to the original self from yesterday's recording.
From the hero's journey, yeah. That's exactly it. If you think of hero's journey, this is more origin, and this is out in the foreign world, the unknown, and then bringing the bacon back home to origin. So this is modeling the hero's journey. It's another way of looking at the hero's journey. Okay? We start with ourselves and we journey out there. We make our contributions, we act on our quest, and then we find our prizes and rewards and we bring them home. And those prizes and rewards and celebrations fertilize our home garden. Okay? Another metaphor is planting a garden. All right? You plant the seeds, you nourish it. Okay? You have to go out here to cultivate, work the garden, and then you reap the rewards. You eat the fruit. And then you let it rest. And you let it recharge. And then you grow another garden. Right?
I think it's not just for the okay, let's take a practitioner and client relationship. Or let's make it another one. Let's say it's an architect and someone who buys a house. If the architect doesn't take everything that is given to him, then it will not only influence what he gets from it, but also what the client will get from it. Okay, simply if I get the best house, the perfect house from the architect, but when we say goodbye, I have the feeling that it was just another job for him. You know, when I say thank you, this is so great, and he's like, yeah, okay. Then I feel like it was just another job for him, and then it feels like I've never been connected to the intentions that he had when he was doing the job. Right. And then it's also incomplete for me.
It diminishes the impact on you and the effect on you and your own enjoyment of the home. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Good point. Just like, you know, when I used to give concerts, and in the beginning, I was such a perfectionist. I'd go give the concert, and as soon as I walked off stage, I'd be beating myself up, thinking that was a piece of shit performance. I made 2 mistakes. Could have been better. And then I have to go out and greet the audience, and I have this smile pasted on my face, like, and I say, oh my God, it was amazing. I was so moved and inspired. And I would immediately launch to, yeah, but my Beethoven could have been this better. And I'm watching their face, all that radiance, drain.
Yeah.
So I learned that, oh, I just took their gift and said, yeah, that's a piece of shit. Really, it was ungratefulness. And then it diminished their energy and it fed my negativity.
Yeah.
When I learned to just, no matter how the concert went, go backstage and say, okay, that I gave my best shot. What first was great? What first did I appreciate? Tomorrow, I'll think about what could have been improved. But for tonight, I'm having champagne. And then when I would go out and greet the audience and they'd say, oh, it was a wonderful performance, it was easier for me first to receive the compliments, the acknowledgments. And I just simply said, thank you. And then I was generous back to them. And I said, thank you for taking the time to come and listen. It was a real honor to play for you. And they go, oh, but I was so inspired by you. You're just so wonderful. And I'd say, you know, I'm so appreciative that you took time to listen. Thank you. Right? It comes from humbleness and appreciation, gratitude. And so there's a circulation of gratitude going on. That's what the give and receive is. Gratitude is not just giving, but also receiving. It's sending and making sure it is received. I'm not forcing it down your throat, but I'm imagining you opening up and receiving it and being affected. So it's a circulation of gratitude. And so then I felt so much better about my playing, myself, and I was inspired then to say, okay, now how can I still make improvements? And I made those improvements from a resilient place, knowing, you know, I am creative. It's not, you know, the other way was I go home feeling dejected like a piece of shit, and I say, now I got to go practice so many more hours and make it better, and there's no pleasure in it, none. And I've made very little progress. And I started to program all my concerts with fear, stress, and anxiety, so that as soon as I walked on the stage, I was already falling apart. When I switched that around and learned how to circulate this energy from resilience, I was feeling invincible on stage, and it was a pleasure. And I still was highly alert, and I was far more precise, and everything was in tune and in line. So there's many, many, many benefits to creating this kind of circulation. Now, what this yellow line means is this is who you are in every moment. You are yourself in relationship, moving about in the world, okay, with a give and receive. And that is your sphere of reality day to day, okay? So the fourth dimension is time. So there we are with that world. And this is me in my present world. Now, I can have a relationship with my future self. And my future self is in relationship with himself and others and moving about in his future world. Okay? He will have different challenges. And he will have different obstacles, different inspirations, different contributions. He's at a different level or a different reality than me. All right? Now, there is now a give and receive between me and my future. And my future is doing a give and receive with my present self. Now, you might think, oh, of course, I have a lot I could receive from my future. There's so much I want to know. But what would I possibly have to give to my future? If my future is better, why would my future want to receive anything from me, which really is their past? Do you guys follow my logic here? Okay. If you think about who you were 20 years ago, what is it about that person 20 years ago that you could learn from? What would you like to regain from that person that you possibly have lost in the present? Yeah, what makes you smile, Paul?
It's great. It reminds me again of the original self, like taking the rewards home and integrating with our original self from the past. And yeah, that made me laugh again. And it kind of turns it around. Like I don't have to borrow from the future. I can actually use the past as a resource for the present and still do a kind of future entanglement.
That's right. What actually we can do is we have past, present, and future. The three worlds are entangled and they're linked through this give and receive. Okay. This looks really complicated, but
no. It seems like we can take energy from the past and convert it for the future.
That's right. What happens is past, present, and future can now collapse into timelessness. All right. So, for example, by the way, can you guys see the entire screen, or does the Zoom window get in the way? I just want to know. Because I have no idea what you guys see.
It works fine. Like, it's possible to manipulate the window so that it shows only you as a speaker or all the participants, and then it's still freely movable.
Okay. So we have a past, present self, all right? And let's say, okay, I'm building my business. I'm just starting, right? And every day I have to go take action and do things to build my business. Well, then what we could do is we can build a vision, right? Okay, so project yourself into your future. What now is happening with your business? And what we're looking at here is, okay, you can ask from the future, okay, what obstacles did I overcome? How did I do it? What did it demand of me to overcome the obstacles? And what benefits am I now reaping with? You can go into this world of what now is the give and receive of the future. Okay. What lessons did I learn here? What strengths did I gain? And if I look back upon myself, what is my current attitude towards, let's say, my stress and anxiety of the current moment? Because having gone through it, you know, my future self would say, well, if I could do it again, I would recommend this, this, and this. Or if I could do it again, I wouldn't pay attention to this or this. This was the most important thing to focus on, right? So we can start having that conversation with ourselves. When we project ourselves in this future, we have a different kind of energy, a different frequency, a different kind of resilience, plus an accumulation of wisdom. And so then we can give that knowledge or wisdom back to the present self, and the present self receives it. The current self is then giving to the future. It could be revitalizing the future. It could be reminding the future of what strengths they've gained. It could be giving the future perspective, because don't forget, the future may have its own set of stresses and anxieties. And what the present can do is rejuvenate and revitalize the future. So both start to entangle. Now, the other thing is promises need to be made and kept between future and present. All right? Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yes.
So if I'm saying I'm programming a certain thing to happen in my future, I must act upon that now in the present in order for that to manifest. All right? Does that make sense to you guys? I can't just borrow from my future and then sit on it, because then I'm changing my timeline. Does that make sense? The other thing is, if I want to manifest something from the future into the present, I'm already feeling the future living in me now. It's not like I'm waiting to arrive at the future, okay? So if I say, I am going to project myself into a future where I am a successful entrepreneur and I have a staff of 100 people and I'm generating, I don't know, 5 million euros per year, and I have a clear mind, clear head, and a very supportive team, and there's a healthy give and receive with lots of creativity, generosity, and productivity. For example, that's the world I'm projecting into. I get to know how that feels, how that feeds back to me in my well-being, my inspiration, my creativity. And then I bring that into my current self. And this is now how I start relating. So I'm relating as my future self today. Does that make sense? That already starts shifting the relationships and my actions. Now I'm already beginning to live the future without waiting those 5 years. I'm already the future. Now I'm just filling up the events and the evidence that make that future come true. Does this make sense? Do you know what a vacuum sealed can is? You know, like if you know the Pringles chips, right? Or if you have a can and you pull on the top and you hear this, all the air sucks in. When you're creating this loop with your future, you're actually creating like a vacuum sealed can in your present. And then you break the seal, meaning you give. You're now saying, I am the future and I give now. I make my contribution. The universe fills it up and makes the future manifest. But you have to build the container within yourself and be ready to receive the universe and act from that container. Irena, you wanted to make a comment?
I would like to ask you something because it's just popping out in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm working on a project,
mm-hmm.
and there are moments I feel stuck. But when you say something about figure out how I would like to the future appears, it's happening that many of the things appears in the present, like suggestion of things or tools that I could use to create the strategies to arrive to this future. And it's happening to me now that I am more open and completely, it's also about kind of receive the future throughout suggestion, throughout things that are ideas, creativity, and strategies that you can
That's right.
work in. And this is how manifestation is appearing.
That's right.
It's, okay.
It's very important what you say. You need to receive the future. You need to receive signals from the future. Now, the future also can come through the outer world. So that means you need to be open and receptive to what the world is giving you. So you're receiving from the future in the same way you're receiving from the world. Both are doorways to manifestation, okay? And you can't judge on what it's supposed to be or look like. And when even you're feeling into and projecting yourself into this future world, you might meet very surprising information, and you need to be welcoming and receptive to it. Then you can take it back in and say, all right, how do I use that? What's it for? But you have to listen to it. And the other thing is you cannot manipulate your future from the present self. You must leave the present world and project yourself into that future. Forget the present. Because sometimes what I see people doing is they're trying to imagine and construct and create this future world from the present mindset. No, you're leaving this mindset. You're leaving this way of being in relationship in the world, and you're entering a whole new kind of frequency. This is why I'm saying be receptive to surprises. Does that make sense, all of you?
So, to me, totally, because I'm trying to receive my future self, and it's different than me.
It is. It's similar and different.
The difference is that it's far more open,
okay,
and abundant.
Yeah. Another way to think about this is the future is teaching me, I receive the lessons and integrate the lessons. I am teaching the future, and the future receives and integrates my lessons. So the two are teaching each other. This is why I say you must also be open to the idea that the future has humility.
This is exactly what I'm going to say. There is this sense of humility of this relationship that I'm feeling right now.
Yes.
We are so connected.
This is what creates a resilient relationship in time, is if there's humility on both ends, an openness to reception and a generosity to give. Otherwise, if you make your future an arrogant future, it will slow down the present and you'll never arrive at that future because the future will withhold information. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So this is also why then it is important to have humility with your past. And it's great to do work with the past. To give generously to the past, let the past receive, and allow the past to give you something that is revitalizing, or to learn a lesson from and receive and integrate it. And quantum physics is now discovering that future can change the past just as much as past can change the future. They're now starting to prove this. So if you create humility within yourself to revisit the past from humility and resilience, and allow yourself to teach the past and learn from the past, you may find your world changing in the present just as much as if you were jumping to the future. So I'm going to leave you with that thought, that all three work together in a timeless, resilient fashion.
Troy, may I say to you something? It's a reward to me for you. I think you are a gift in my life, because you are clarifying many things that are going on in my life, especially when you said, come back 20 years ago. It was a moment of I was really down in a way. I was really going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And this helps me to feel this sense of humility for the future.
Wonderful.
And this is changing all my energy right now.
Awesome.
Thank you, Troy. I don't know how I give a best reward, because really you are gifted me in many ways in these 12 lessons that you gave to me, and they are integrated with my own training, and I just feeling that I have to thank you very much for your great job with me. And I don't know, I hope to meet you soon and find a way to reward you much better.
Thank you so much. And I hope to meet you as well. I hope that eventually you'll if you want to learn more depth, you come and learn the courses, but already take all this information and let your imagination go wild and let yourself synchronize to it, and always let me know how it's working for you. And
yes.
If you do that work, and you already start integrating everything you've learned from these webinars, you'll be a great gift to me when you eventually walk in the room and take the courses, because you'll learn so much faster.
That's
so. I can take you even further, and that's a gift to me too.
Thank you, Troy. This is something that I'm noticing now, and is a gift, and I hope to give away as much as I can too.
Yes, please be generous with everyone and yourself.
Thank you.
And Maren, I noticed you were going to say something. You were having a question or comment. Yeah.
Yes. So what's like a very practical advice to talk to the past and to the future? Are there like some questions you could journal on?
Anything, you project yourself in there. You could even imagine a remote relationship with you and the future self, right? And doing that relationship give and receive here. Right? So
more like, again, like a meditation thing.
Yeah, it could be a visualization, meditation, But again, you activate your own resilience first, and then you get into relationship with the future. Yeah.
And writing wouldn't work.
Writing can work, painting, dancing. You know, when I practice piano, I'm going through all kinds of scenarios and things while I'm playing, because the playing gets me in a flow state. So if writing gets you into a flow state, or walking, or running, or even if you're working out, if you do, you know, the bicycle thing, whatever you guys do, whatever, if you're in either a quiet space where you're still, or you're doing repetitive action, even like taking a shower, doing the dishes, repetitive action also calms the mind, you know, and allows you to open up.
Okay, and I guess it would be more like the writing you were talking about is more like a creative writing. It's not that you have like a specific question that I can journal on then and reflect.
Sure, that works too.
And do you have one? Or two, or 8?
Well, you know, like, you know, think of you know, if you wanted to gain wisdom from your future self, you know, so what advice would you have for me? You know, I'm currently experiencing this challenge. How did you get through it? You succeeded, right? Another one could be if you're, you know, and you could also project yourself into the body of the future self and experience how they feel, how they are experiencing the world. So do it firsthand. That's another way. Either go into their body and experience their world, or have the dialogue with them of a give and receive, right? When you're bringing it back to the present, then here's an example. Like shamans have reported, you know, when they say they do the rain dance, right? And they say, how do they actually make it rain? Because they have. There's reported evidence on this. And they say, I don't just think about the rain. I don't just do the dance and say, rain, you know, rain come. No, I smell the rain. I feel the moisture on my skin. The rain is already here. And then the rain comes to fulfill what I've already realized on an energetic level. That's what I mean about the vacuum sealed container. You create the container, it already exists, then the world needs to provide the proof or provide the substance for the intention. That's more the proper way how law of attraction works. Now I'm going to do a special webinar in March on law of attraction, and so I'll show you now also. The next webinar is on January 9th, and this is taking you right back to basics, the basics of building resilience, okay? We have a new registration site, so please note it. It's EED-webinars-2019.eventbrite.com, okay? So dash 2019. And that's on January 9th. You can already register, it's open. And then Irena, if you're interested in coming to a module in the spring, we've got modules in Paris in February and March. Okay, February 1st, March 15th. We have modules in Munich, February 8th, March 22nd, April 5th. And all of the 2019 calendar or course schedule is on our website, www.essence-dynamics.com. I'm also saying this for the purposes of the recording because I know other people are listening. So, so it's not just for you guys, because I know Paul, Marin, Philippe, you're already in the courses. So, and there is the registration site for the European series. That's EED-EU-2019.eventbrite.com. Everything is on the screen. And so go visit the sites and sign up for the next webinar in January. And for January, February, March, I'm going to do a webinar every 2 weeks. So we're going to get 6 webinars in before April. And the schedule is already posted on that new registration site. So you can look ahead at what all the topics are going to be. So, any final comments there from you guys? Look, I've got animations on the slides highlighting the website. And yeah, and if you have further questions, you can always email me at info@essence-dynamics.com or troy@essence-dynamics.com. Both work. And we're on Facebook and Twitter at EE Dynamics. So any final comments or like what are you leaving with? What feels inspired or insightful for you? What do you take with you from this webinar?
I take with me the one thing specifically, which is taking our rewards back home to fertilize our home garden. That's a pretty cool metaphor.
Say it again, taking the rewards. I missed the second half.
Yeah, we're taking the rewards back home to fertilize our home garden.
Right, to fertilize our own garden, yeah.
Otherwise, the quantum relationship is not sustainable.
Right, exactly. Hugely important. Who else?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Maybe a bit crude. Many parts of what you said about the quantum perspective I've heard before, and a big part of me thought that it was bullshit because it didn't connect to reality. I would say there was some missing pieces, and now that I have the missing pieces, and that it's yeah, okay, the basics of EED, and then I can connect it to that, and it starts to make sense. So that's very good.
Out of interest, and just very briefly, what can you say to me are the missing pieces that you've now found through this?
I'd say essentially about real connection. So before, the way, okay, for example, connection to future self and all that, the way I've heard about it and the way I've experienced this was more about imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Already great. I mean, it's already a great tool, but it's not real energetic connection, or it's less. It allows less giving and receiving, as you said. It was more like, yeah, it was just in my mind. It was not really. There was no real giving and receiving. It was just, I would say, motivational or something like that. So this is for me the missing piece.
It really needs to be a felt experience. So everything you're receiving gets circulated in your own vertical loop, and then everything gets sent out again. And that's a big piece. That's
yes. Yeah. Or even more concretely, even more immediate, in a relationship with someone. If I'm sitting with someone who gets on my nerves, usually, and I start imagining, okay, now I'm in a state of peace, and I'm projecting peace on that person. It doesn't work because it's just in my head. And first thing the person does to get on my nerves, it gets on my nerves even more because it's not working. But I've noted very briefly, because this is new for me, that if I do that with EED, and I'm, as you said, I'm just connecting for myself with this essential energy, and I start giving and receiving it on the horizontal loop. So once I have both loops, that it does stick with me first. So that's a very good thing, or at least it sticks longer and it sticks better. And also, it does start to influence the other person. And I've had some very strange proofs of that even recently. So yeah, it's so it works. It works. So this is crazy and it's good. So if it works like that, I'm looking forward to trying it with the other application that you've given in this webinar.
So by the way, Module 1 teaches you the vertical loop. Module 2 introduces you to the horizontal loop, and then we continue some work with the horizontal loop in Module 3 and do much more in-depth work in the Reconciling Conflicts course with the horizontal loop. And Module 3 introduces you to the world loop and a little bit to the time loop. I might need a fourth module in the future to really go much more in depth with the world loop and time loop. I'm trying to figure out how I can do that, to give more information on it. So this is partly why I wanted to do this webinar, so you have that extra information. But I have a whole set of skills I haven't released yet that work with that world loop and time loop. So you get some of it in module 3, actually quite a bit, but then there's even more that can be done with the world and time loop.
But by the way, could you at some point give us more information about the content of the Reconciling Conflict course?
Yes, you'll find, if you go to the website, essence-dynamics.com, and you look under Program Overview, there's a pull-down menu, or there's another menu, and you scroll to the bottom of it and look under Application Courses. That'll take you to the page of the extra courses and a whole description of the Reconciling Conflicts courses right there.
Cool, great.
Read on it, yeah. Marin, anything left for you? I'd love to hear your final comments.
I'm realizing I'm doing some things like in my life that have like somewhat of a positive effect on me.
Yeah.
Like for example, doing like a gratitude diary, and I haven't had it so clear why I'm actually doing this.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And now with, for example, I connected then my home world, that loop home world to outer world, and receiving what the outer world is giving back to me. For example, I can do that by the gratitude diary.
Great.
So it's, what's the word? It's like somewhat what Felipe says, something like it's all kind of like making more sense now.
Awesome.
It's like, and I think I've told you this before, it's like the integration of things that I've read or experienced or I'm doing, all comes together and makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for all of you to go out and try this, use it, experiment. Amiel, are you still? Well, I don't see your video, but and you're muted. But yeah, do you have any final comments? Hi, good to see you.
Hi. Well, I wish it was a bit more in depth, and I'm still kind of lacking some more techniques and help to stay in this resilient state. And my aim is to arrive there completely eventually and never get out, or like just beam through the world and be resilient. And hi people, okay, oh, I'm beaming to another dimension, 1 moment. That's my goal.
Okay, well, I have 2 things to say. Number 1, this is a 90-minute webinar, and thank you guys for staying the extra time here because I'm overtime, or I started a bit late too. And I can really, this is a lot of concept and philosophy, so that's really all I can give you in these 90 minutes is the whole concept and philosophy with examples. Now, in the modules, you get the techniques for the vertical and the horizontal, and some techniques for the world and time. And to master all 4 of those, it's a lifetime of work and discipline. So even what you get in the 3-day modules, just on the vertical loop, still takes practice, months, and of mastering yourself, as it takes self-discipline. And of course, through further webinars, alumni calls, and live practicums, we can keep revisiting and refining and polishing. So I do not expect anyone to have something mastered in 3 days. And I designed this work so that it's a discipline, and you revisit it, and it keeps enriching you more and more. And the more you reflect on it, practice it, and dive into it, the more you'll discover. I'm a concert pianist, and so I'm used to playing the same piece for 20 years. I've been playing the complete Chopin nocturnes for over 20 years now, and every time still I play a nocturne and there's something still new to discover. I'm still peeling another layer. And so this work is the same. It's not just like, you know, oh, I know how to make bread, and you leave it at that. No, there's all kinds of different loaves of bread you can make, and you can do so many variations. And then, you know, what is it to make the perfect loaf? So yeah, eventually you will get there, you know, and I can't say that I'm there, but I'm way better than I was 10 years ago. And this is way more easy and fluent. And of course, because we're human beings, we fall back into our closed bubbles, but the key is that I can open it back up at will. And I can regain access to my resilience at will. And I'm already shifting my world at will and my future at will. I mean, I don't present any of this unless I'm actually doing it myself, right? So, and I can't claim to be a master of it. Everything we've talked about on this call is a lifetime of work. I really need to stress that. I know there's a lot of other things out there that say, oh, law of attraction, and take my, you know, 1 hour webinar and you'll just, you know, you'll attract everything in your life. It's like, no, it takes discipline, self-discipline. So, and the module 1 especially is designed to introduce you to the degree of self-discipline it takes through the exercises we go through. You know, you'll really see where you open and you collapse it, and you open and you collapse. But the more you open, the more you can sustain it. So thank you everyone for attending. I really look forward to seeing you in the new year if you come to join the webinars. And in the meantime, celebrate yourselves, celebrate a whole year of accomplishment. Be merry, have a great holiday, and, you know, have a great celebration in the new year. So celebrate yourselves, celebrate life, the world, your future, your past. And really the key is just enjoy. Enjoy the moment.
Thank you, Troy. You too. And eventually, if you need someone who tests your 4th module, I'm here.
Okay, yes. I'll be happy. I'll be happy. I'll bring that out at some point soon. Maybe, you know, next year, 2020. Who knows? We got a lot of stuff planned for 2019 already. So, yeah.
We are here. We are already connected. So when the times come, we will be ready.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and enjoy a great day, great evening, great holidays. We'll talk soon.